CBS canceled Evening Shade in 1994 while it was still performing in the top 30. The reason was not ratings. The reason was salaries. The show's cast included 2 Academy Award nominees, a Tony Award winner, a Kennedy Center Honors recipient, and the former #1 box office star in America, and paying all of them on the same call sheet became more than the network could justify. 6 of those 9 actors are now gone. The most expensive cast CBS could not afford is now the cast nobody can reassemble. Of those 6, 1 is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and he did not earn that plot through acting. Another shares a single urn with his wife at a cemetery in New York. The youngest to die was 50 years old and had been playing a character on Sesame Street the week he was found dead at his home. The biggest star in the cast was not buried for over 2 years after his death. Before we walk through every name, tell me in the comments which of these 9 cast members you remember best. Skip your favorite. Tell me which one you actually remember. Write the name now and see how many of the others surprise you. Number 1 is J.R. Ferguson, who was 16 years old when Evening Shade premiered on September 21, 1990. He played Taylor Newton, the eldest son of Burt Reynolds' football coach, a teenager navigating adolescence in a small Arkansas town that felt nothing like the Los Angeles soundstage where it was filmed. Ferguson had already survived 1 cancellation before arriving on Evening Shade. The Fox adaptation of The Outsiders lasted 13 episodes before the network pulled it. He was 16 and had already experienced the industry's willingness to discard a show regardless of its source material. After Evening Shade ended in 1994, Ferguson's career went through years of uneven work before he resurfaced as Stan Rizzo on Mad Men in 2010, earning multiple Screen Actors Guild nominations alongside that ensemble. He went from playing a high school kid on a sitcom to playing a countercultural art director on one of the most acclaimed dramas in television history, with a 16-year gap between the two. Ferguson is married to Lorena Ruiz, and they have 3 children. He is alive at 51 and still working, most recently on The Conners. He lives in Los Angeles. Coming in at number 2, Marilu Henner was 38 when the show premiered. She played Ava Evans Newton, Wood's sharp, grounded wife, a woman studying law while managing a household, a marriage, and a husband whose football team could not win. Before Evening Shade, Henner spent 5 seasons on Taxi, earning 5 Golden Globe nominations without winning a single one. The show won 18 Emmys during its run. Henner received none of them. On Evening Shade, it was Henner who confirmed on Charlie Rose in September 1994 that CBS canceled the show because the cast's salaries had become unsustainable. The network ended a top 30 performer because it cost too much to pay the people who made it work. After the show, Henner hosted her own daytime talk show for 165 episodes, wrote 9 books on health and memory, and competed on Dancing with the Stars. She has appeared in over 30 Hallmark films. Henner is one of fewer than 100 people in the world diagnosed with hyperthymesia, highly superior autobiographical memory, which allows her to recall nearly every day of her life since she was 11. Brain researchers at UC Irvine found 9 areas of her brain 10 times larger than normal. Both of her parents died in their 50s, which shaped her lifelong commitment to health advocacy. Henner has been married 3 times and is currently married to publisher Michael Brown since 2006. She has 2 sons from her second marriage. Marilu Henner is alive at 73. She lives in Los Angeles. Number 3 is Elizabeth Ashley, born Elizabeth Ann Cole, who was 51 when the show premiered. She played Frida Evans, Ava's sharp-tongued mother and Wood's formidable mother-in-law, the woman in the room whose opinion nobody asked for and everybody heard. Ashley won a Tony Award for Take Her, She's Mine in 1962 and was cast as the female lead in the original Broadway production of Neil Simon's Barefoot in the Park the following year. During the run, she suffered a mental breakdown and checked into a psychiatric hospital. The public was told it was bronchitis. She left the play, married actor George Peppard, and stepped away from her career for nearly a decade. When she returned, the momentum was gone. In her 1978 autobiography, she documented Peppard's violent, abusive, and alcoholic behavior during their marriage. After Evening Shade, Ashley became a defining interpreter of Tennessee Williams, playing Mrs. Venable, Alexandra Del Lago, and Amanda Wingfield across 3 separate productions. She appeared on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson 24 times and was a high school classmate of Jane Mansfield. She was inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame in 2024. Ashley has one son, Christian Peppard, born in 1968, who became a writer. Elizabeth Ashley is alive at 86. The next member of this cast did not live to see the show's 30th anniversary. Number 4 is Ann Wedgeworth, who was 56 when the show premiered. She played Merleen Elldridge, the earthy, practical wife of the town doctor, half of the show's central older couple. Before Evening Shade, Wedgeworth was cast as divorcee Lana Shields on Three's Company in 1979. She later stated that she asked to be released from her contract because the writers kept shrinking her role. She left one of the highest-rated sitcoms in America because the show had no idea what to do with her. Wedgeworth's first husband was actor Rip Torn, whom she married in 1955 and divorced in 1961. Years later, she appeared in Sam Shepard's off-Broadway play A Lie of the Mind alongside Geraldine Page, who had married Torn after his divorce from Wedgeworth. She won the 1978 Tony Award for Chapter 2. Newsweek wrote that she moved like Isadora Duncan and had the comic timing of Jack Benny. Her second husband, acting teacher Ernie Martin, survived her by only a few weeks. Ann Wedgeworth died on November 16, 2017, at the age of 83 in a nursing home in North Bergen, New Jersey, after a long illness. She was cremated. Her ashes were given to her family, and the final disposition is not publicly documented. If you have watched this far and this channel has shown you something about this cast you did not know before, subscribing means you will not miss the next one. Number 5 is Hal Holbrook, born Harold Rowe Holbrook Jr., who was 65 when the show premiered. He played Evan Evans, Ava's father, and Wood's father-in-law, the town patriarch whose measured authority and dry humor anchored the show's moral center. CBS killed off Holbrook's character on Designing Women, specifically to free him for Evening Shade. The network did not wait for his storyline to end naturally. They removed him from one show to build another. Holbrook was abandoned by both parents at the age of 2. His mother, a vaudeville dancer, disappeared. His father left shortly after. He and his 2 older sisters were raised by their paternal grandparents. He did not learn about his mother's life until he found her trunk in the basement at age 12. Photographs of her in costume and his baby shoes inside. Despite that beginning, Holbrook built one of the most acclaimed careers in American theater, performing Mark Twain Tonight for over 60 years before retiring the show in 2017. He received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for Into the Wild in 2007, becoming at 82 the oldest male nominee in that category. His memoir, Harold, The Boy Who Became Mark Twain, was published in 2011. Holbrook married actress Dixie Carter in 1984. Carter, the star of Designing Women, died of endometrial cancer on April 10, 2010. Holbrook said of their home in McClemmersville, Tennessee, that it had the feel of the Mark Twain house and that no other place suited him as well. He had 3 children from earlier marriages. Hal Holbrook died on January 23, 2021, at the age of 95, at his home in Beverly Hills. No cause of death was made public. He is buried at McClemmersville Cemetery in McClemmersville, Carroll County, Tennessee, alongside Dixie Carter, a man who could have been buried anywhere in the world and chose a small-town cemetery in a state where nobody was watching. 9 months before Holbrook died, the cast had already lost its star. But before we reach him, there are 2 more names the viewer needs to hear. Number 6 is Ossie Davis, born Rayford Chapman Davis, who was 72 when the show premiered. The name Ossie came from a courthouse clerk who misheard his mother say R.C. at his birth. Davis played Ponder Blue, the owner of the local barbecue restaurant and the show's narrator, a man whose closing monologue ended every episode with the same 6 words. In a place called Evening Shade. Those words gave the show its voice. The man who spoke them spent decades fighting for roles that gave him dignity. Davis was frequently offered only stereotypical parts, porters, butlers, servants, and had to actively refuse them. He and his wife, Ruby Dee, were pressured during the McCarthy era for their civil rights activism and associations with targeted figures including Paul Robeson. Davis served as Master of Ceremonies at the 1963 March on Washington and delivered the eulogy at the funeral of Malcolm X in 1965, calling him our own Black Shining Prince. After Evening Shade, Davis appeared in The Client, Dr. Dolittle, and several Spike Lee films. His final role was on The L Word, in which his character took ill and died, an episode that aired shortly after Davis's own death and carried a dedication to him. Davis married Ruby Dee in 1948. They remained married for 56 years. At Davis's funeral in 2005, Burt Reynolds said that Davis took the bad parts of the South out of me. Bill Clinton delivered remarks. Davis and Dee received the Kennedy Center Honors in 2004, months before he died. They had 3 children together. Ossie Davis was found dead in his hotel room at the Shore Club in Miami Beach, Florida, on February 4, 2005, at the age of 87. He had been filming a movie called Retirement. An official cause of death was not released, but he was known to have had heart disease. He was cremated. His ashes were placed at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. 9 years later, when Ruby Dee died on June 11, 2014, her ashes were placed into the same urn. The grave marker reads, "In this thing together." The production detail that binds this cast together is the price tag. Evening Shade assembled 9 actors whose combined resumes included Academy Award nominations, Tony Awards, Golden Globes, Emmy Awards, a Kennedy Center Honor, and a Silver Star for combat valor. No other sitcom in history put that caliber of cast on a single call sheet for 4 consecutive seasons. The bill came due, and CBS stopped paying it. Number 7 is Charles Durning, who was 67 when the show premiered. He played Dr. Harlan Elldridge, the town doctor. On screen, Durning was warm, reliable, and unhurried. Off-screen, his life before acting contained more violence than most war films depict. Durning was drafted into the United States Army at age 20. He landed at Normandy during the D-Day invasion and was the only survivor of his patrol unit. He was wounded by a German mine, spent 6 months recovering in England, and was sent back to the front for the Battle of the Bulge. During hand-to-hand combat, a young German soldier charged him with a bayonet and stabbed him 8 times. Durning killed the soldier with a rock. His company was later captured during the Malmedy massacre, when German troops opened fire on American prisoners. Durning was among the few who escaped. He received a bullet wound to the chest in March 1945 that earned his 3rd Purple Heart and ended his combat. He also received a Silver Star and a Bronze Star for valor. He was discharged in 1946 as a private first class. The physical and psychological damage followed him home. He used ballroom dancing as physical therapy to rebuild his badly injured leg and speech therapy to address a stutter that had developed from combat trauma. The American Academy of Dramatic Arts told him he lacked talent. He worked as an usher in a burlesque theater, where he was hired one night to replace an intoxicated actor on stage, an accident that became the beginning of a 50-year career. He taught ballroom dancing at the Fred Astaire Dance Studio while taking any small role he could find. Over the decades, he accumulated more than 200 credits, earned 2 Academy Award nominations, won a Tony Award for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof in 1990, and received the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award in 2008. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame was placed adjacent to James Cagney's, the actor he admired most. Durning was the 9th of 10 children. 5 of his sisters died from scarlet fever and smallpox as children. He served as chairman of the U.S. National Salute to Hospitalized Veterans and spoke at the National Memorial Day concert on PBS for 17 consecutive years. He was married and survived by his wife and 3 children. Charles Durning died of natural causes on December 24, 2012, Christmas Eve, at his home in Manhattan at the age of 89. Broadway theaters dimmed their lights. He is buried at Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, Section 66, Grave 127, a man who played a small-town doctor but earned the right to rest among soldiers. Less than 10 years before Durning's death, the cast had already lost its youngest member. Number 8 is Michael Jeter, who was 38 when the show premiered. He played Herman Stiles, the math teacher and assistant football coach, whose nervous energy and fragile sincerity made him the character audiences worried about most. If the cast was the most expensive in sitcom history, Jeter was the member who earned the least on paper and delivered the most per minute on screen. He won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series for Evening Shade in 1992, and was nominated twice more during the show's run, a total of 3 Emmy nominations for a single sitcom, more than any other cast member received. He also won a Tony Award for Grand Hotel in 1990, announcing during his acceptance speech that he was in recovery from substance abuse. In 1997, he publicly disclosed his HIV-positive status on Entertainment Tonight before any tabloid could break the story. He continued to work at a pace that made his diagnosis invisible to audiences. He appeared in The Fisher King, The Green Mile, Jurassic Park 3, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He played Mr. Noodle's brother on Sesame Street from 2000 until his death, a children's television role he maintained while carrying a diagnosis the public rarely discussed in the same sentence as puppets. Jeter originally studied medicine at Memphis State University before switching to acting. He was in a relationship with his partner, Sean Blue, from 1995 until his death. He had no children. Michael Jeter was found dead at his home in Hollywood Hills, California, on March 30, 2003 by Sean Blue. He was 50 years old. Blue stated the cause of death was complications following an epileptic seizure. Jeter was cremated. His ashes were scattered. The specific location is not publicly documented. Number 9 is the one the viewer clicked to find out about. Burt Reynolds, born Burton Leon Reynolds Jr., was 54 when the show premiered. He played Woodrow Newton, a former Pittsburgh Steelers running back who returned to his Arkansas hometown to coach a football team that could not stop losing. A role Reynolds requested because he was a lifelong Steelers fan, and a premise he understood because a knee injury at Florida State University had ended his own football career decades earlier. Reynolds was the #1 box office star in America for 5 consecutive years, from 1978 to 1982. Despite that dominance, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences gave him exactly 1 nomination in his entire career, for Boogie Nights in 1997, and he did not win. His marriage to Lonnie Anderson ended in a highly publicized divorce in 1993 during the show's run. He filed for bankruptcy in 1996, listing debts exceeding $10 million. The man who had been the highest-paid actor in America could not pay his bills. Evening Shade gave Reynolds more awards than any other role in his career: an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series in 1991, a Golden Globe in 1992, and a People's Choice Award in 1990. The show Hillary Clinton helped name, she suggested the real town of Evening Shade in Sharp County, Arkansas, population 328, became the vehicle for his most honored performance. Reynolds was married twice, to actress Judy Carne from 1963 to 1965, and to Lonnie Anderson from 1988 to 1993. He had 1 adopted son, Quentin, with Anderson. He described his relationship with Sally Field as the most significant of his life. Reynolds had undergone quintuple coronary artery bypass surgery and had spoken publicly about prescription painkiller addiction following a jaw injury on the set of City Heat in 1984. Burt Reynolds died of cardiac arrest on September 6, 2018, at the age of 82, at a hospital in Jupiter, Florida. His body was cremated days later, and his ashes were given to his niece, Nancy Lee Brown Hess, who served as executor of his estate. For reasons the family never publicly explained, his remains were not interred until February 11, 2021, over 2 years and 5 months after his death, on what would have been his 85th birthday. A small ceremony was held at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles. Family members attended via Zoom. A lone fan placed a model Trans Am on the temporary headstone. He is buried in the Garden of Legends, Lot D, Grave 8, on the north side of the lake at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Hollywood, Los Angeles County, California. 3 members of the Evening Shade cast are still alive. J.R. Ferguson is 51 and working in Los Angeles. Marilu Henner is 73 and can remember every day she spent on that set. Elizabeth Ashley is 86 and was inducted into the American Theatre Hall of Fame 2 years ago. The other 6 are scattered across a geography that tells you more about who they were than any episode ever did. Michael Jeter, March 30, 2003, cremated and scattered at 50. Ossie Davis, February 4, 2005, sharing a single urn with Ruby Dee at Ferncliff Cemetery in New York, their marker reading, "In This Thing Together." Charles Durning, December 24, 2012, buried at Arlington National Cemetery, Section 66, a grave earned at Normandy, not on a soundstage. Ann Wedgeworth, November 16, 2017, cremated, ashes held by her family. Burt Reynolds, September 6, 2018, buried 2 years late at Hollywood Forever. Hal Holbrook, January 23, 2021, buried in McClemmersville, Tennessee, beside Dixie Carter, in a cemetery smaller than the call sheet he once appeared on. 6 graves: a national cemetery, a New York mausoleum, a Hollywood landmark, and a Tennessee town nobody outside Carroll County has heard of. The cast CBS canceled because it costs too much now rests in places no budget can reach.